Hey guys, welcome to the World of Mythrall. This is a world that I've created. I've worked on this for 3 years straight now. It stems from a idea I came up with for a certain character about 10 years ago. And 3 years ago, I decided, hey, why don't I just put this person on paper? So that's what I started to do. And whenever I started to write them, I really enjoyed it and decided to flesh out the entire world. I was like, man, this would be really cool as a game. Um, so all the factions, all the characters were created by me. A lot of this is a one-person project that I funded out of my own pocket with the help of my beautiful and devoted wife. So in Crux, the world of Mithril is based on one person's dream. So let's get into it. First thing I want to talk about is Encounter, our Adventure War TTRPG game that we've been advertising, that we've been pushing, trying to get people to play. I want to get into what is Encounter, right? The lore, what's the lore behind it? Encounter is based on the time of Golden Veins, and Golden Veins happens after the original story. So yes, the original story isn't even what this game is based on. It's based on the events that happened afterwards. You know, how did the world recover after the catastrophic events that dropped the world population 90%? And these are the kingdoms, these are the people that were left that fought out of the rubble, fought creatures, basically to reclaim the surface land and form kingdoms for themselves. So, how do we actually play Encounter? What are the game mechanics and what I wanted to accomplish with them? So, obviously, anyone who plays, TTRPG RPG games have played D&D. They've played Dungeons and Dragons. They've played Warhammer. They've played Mordheim. They've played a lot, and I am no different. Now, I didn't want to set out to make another D&D remake, to make another Warhammer game, another Grim Dark. I enjoyed a little game called Unicorn Overlord. Now, I know that sounds like a ridiculous name, but it was a fantastic game. And I played Bannerlord, I played Darkest Dungeon, and I decided, there's not a mix of these type of games that I really enjoy, and I'm not scratching the itch. So Encounter is a war game, but not one where you set up your pieces kind of like chainmail. If anyone knows what chainmail is, it's made by the guys who made Dungeons and Dragons, Gary Gygax, 1975, I think. Chainmail existed, but it's basically the godfather of a lot of the game piece war games that you see, where you set them up. There's a lot of math involved, and damaging and evading and flanking. I didn't want the game to be that. I wanted to make it very simple to where people who they didn't really, it was harder for them to get into TTRPGs, especially war games. So I took a lot of those players out of it, where you didn't need a lot of math. And yes, I can add, but you didn't need a lot of math to be able to play the game. So the game mechanics are based on encounters, right? So there's a lot of systems involved in basically being able to keep the author, which is what we call our DMs, honest, and ways to keep the players on their heels. So a lot of it is based on RNG. If you're running a campaign, the author may have a set of like 7 options based on what could possibly happen in this scenario, and they roll it for themselves. We have cards that actually go with whatever that role is. So our system that I use at home to really test and break the game was, 1 to 2, it would be easier. 2 to 3 will be more difficult. 4 to 5 would be, hard, and then 6 to 7 would be deadly. So that's the very basic view of how to play the game. Now, Everything's based on running a campaign, and you have an entire world to use. And I wanted to set it up kind of like Kingdom Come Deliverance. And if you had the complete freedom of choice of Henry of Skalitz. And what that means is, Henry can go and take part of a siege. He can spar all day. He can become a bandit. He could, help little ladies cross muddy streets. He could use a spade and become a grave robber. There's a lot of things Henry could do. There's even a DLC where he could create his own kingdom. And I thought, why don't we turn that up to a max and put that as a TTRPG? So you could be an adventurer, or you could play the game like you're in Skyrim. You could be a dungeon diver. You could build a kingdom and topple other nations. You could become a lord, a vassal of another kingdom. You could, make your whole campaign about unifying all of Jeruth again, and then leading Jeruth against other nations. So I wanted to, encounter to truly embody what it means to be free, but there's false freedom, right? There's a lot of RNG in play because that's how our life truly is. So you could be an absolutely normal person, a mercenary. You aren't born with any type of predestined, clandestine, divine right. That's what I wanted the game to be. I was tired of being the hero all the time, or try to force to be the villain. I kind of wanted to let my own story unfold, so I created a game like that. So how does combat work? So let's say you're playing a campaign. Let's do a typical combat scenario for encounter would be that you have a grid, and it's a 3x3 grid, and you have 5 characters that you put on these grids. Now the rule is, unless you are a ranged character, you have to take out the front rows first before you move on to the back. So you would put these 5 characters on the grid, and the author, or maybe you're playing PvP, they will also put their 5 characters on the grid across from yours. And you will put your grids together, and it'd be like a little mini battlefield. And of course, you roll for initiative. It's a tried and true method to start a game. We use that here as well. You have an initiative system. Each character has their own base initiative. And then you add bonuses to that. If you have a squad title, then you add a squad title bonus that affects your initiative. And of course, you add all your initiatives up, and there isn't a my turn, your turn initiative based system. If you have 2 characters that are top of the initiative, they get to go no matter what. So if you have, let's take for example, a Dragoon, and then you have a Diver. If they roll top of the initiative, 1 and 2, they both get to go. Simple as that. Your opponent does not get to go yet. But that's the basic gist. That's how you start. We will be releasing a how to play encounter video, so you can actually see everything that I'm talking about. If I go more into depth, it'd be hard to imagine. But we wanted to give you that basis of, how do you play this game? Is there any combat? And so I wanted to try to answer that question first. Inspirations I took to make the mechanics. So one of the things I like to explain was, of course, you're going to get inspiration somewhere. So I love the look of chainmail, but unfortunately, a lot of my rules did not come from chainmail. It came from, of course, playing Unicorn Overlord. Very fun game. You should try it out. Darkest Dungeon, and believe it or not, Magic the Gathering. That's where the cards come from. I love Magic's system of basically, what do they call it? Cascading. So you create an engine of cascading, and your cards are you get a set of cards that make an engine that's hard to stop. I wanted to be able to create that, but with the deepest version of strategy in the game. So we mix, Darkest Dungeon with the difficulty of the game, Unicorn Overlord with how the system basically runs, and Magic the Gathering with the effects of cascading and trying to stop each other from cascading. So those are the top inspirations, but people have said the game plays like XCOM, and I've heard a lot of different ones, but no one's been able to pin down exactly how the game works, which I think is good for me. Um, Future expansions and Kickstarter goals. So the game right now is at the base level. We call it an open beta. There's a lot of stuff I would like to do with it, a lot of expansions I would like to make, but of course, like I said in the beginning, it's been a solo project. A lot of this has come out of my own pockets, been very expensive, but very satisfying as well. So, with your help, we will, of course, expand the game and continue to work on it. Right now, it's more than playable, it's more than passable. It's polished as a base game can possibly get. The rules have been stress tested, they've been played to death, and the game works. It runs. It's great. A lot of the expansions will be coming. We'll have the first guidebooks, campaign books that will be running. A monster manual will be coming as an expansion. So we're very excited about the monster manual. Of course, my wife really wants to play a diver campaign where you go. She likes really hard stuff. So a lot of the diver campaigns is designed around, trying to make her cry while she's down there in the dungeons. Another one of my goals is whenever you hit a certain level of promotion, your character changes titles. It changes a class. We don't have minis for those yet. We don't have character concepts for those yet either. So right now is a situation of remembering who was promoted and who wasn't. In the future, whenever the Kickstarter works and you guys are supporting us, we would like to release exactly what your character looks like, a new mini for your upgraded character. That's a big goal of mine, to make sure that comes out along with the monster manual, along with the campaign books and many other expansions. So where can you download it? It's simple. You go to the worldofmythrall.com. It's under the events and games section, and it's Encounter open beta. You can't miss it. You just hit download free PDF. We also have the squad sheets you can download. The game teaches you everything you need to know about how to play Encounter. If we don't upload the video by the time you download the game, of course. Now, to move on from Encounter, what is the World of Mythrall? So the World of Mythrall, it's actually a little different, right? You may first think of it like a game publisher, and in a way we are. We actually would like to do live action games. If originally Encounter was supposed to be live action, but I liked it so much as a TTRPG that I decided to start working on that. But Encounter will be a place where, of course, we will have the World of Mythrall game. So you'll be able to play Encounter live action. You will be able to come down and play in our dungeons and in our tavern to play Encounter as well. But the World of Mythrall is essentially, it's a fantasy LARPing town that I wanted to create. We wanted to host our own games, of course, but we wanted it to be a place where people can host their own games for free or for an affordable price. Who knows until we get there. Of course, the world isn't built yet. That's another one of my goals, but we want it to be truly a live action role play town that's open all year round. That is my goal. We will have everything you would think: a theater area with year-round shows, a smithy that you can participate and buy from, a tavern, a library, bakery. So there's a lot of stuff we want there. There would be a fighting pit, fighting arena, a jousting area, a fight club membership, all based on fantasy, LARPing, medieval, and the goal with that is to be able to bring the community of LARPing together, to bring it to a much broader, larger scene, so a lot of people can enjoy this hobby that we all love so much. So the World of Mythrall essentially is going to be a fantasy LARPing town that offers everything, all the love I can possibly put into it. So, Mythril lore and encounter tie-ins. How does that work? So, Mythril lore, I mentioned earlier that there's an original story before you actually play encounter. Um, on the website, it's called the War of the Chosen. This was the original humans that decided to rise up against the oppressors, the creatures that ruled the world at the time. And they took a pilgrimage around, gathering as many humans as they possibly can to make their own kingdom. So that is a story that will be told on a later date, but it predates Encounter. So that's how they tie in. That's the World of Mythril was the original story, but it's also the world from which Golden Veins Encounter lies in. So how and when do we plan on building the LARPing town? The goal is with the Kickstarter that if we make enough money, we will start building immediately. We'll look for a plot of land, which we've already found a plot of land that we really like, we enjoy in Colorado. Of course, we don't want to put that out just in case someone with a nefarious attitude buys it before us, but we would like to build one in Colorado. There's a lot of LARPs, giant LARPing scene in the East, but there's a lot of people in the West that would like to play. They would like a Drakenfest level, Pinsic level, they would like a Bickling level LARP, but there isn't one there yet. We would like to bring that there. And not for a competition aspect, mostly because we just want people to enjoy a LARPing scene, just like us. So that's when we plan on building the town, basically as soon as possible. If the Kickstarter does not make enough money for the LARPing section as well, we will try again on a later date and reinvest that money into Encounter, make it a much better game. So that's the simple plans for that. The last thing I want to mention before we close this out is that Mythril will work on having permanent vendors there. So you'll be able to basically buy a lot in Mythril way more affordable than you can in the city. You'll be supported by the Mythril website, so we will help you sell and buy everything. So you won't have to purchase anything extra there unless you want to. And you would get obviously permanent advertising as you work with the World of Mythril. So our goal is for a lot of these businesses that may be a little bit more difficult, maybe a little bit more niche, to get permanent exposure there at the World of Mythril, to work with us to really help push this LARPing scene forward. One of the biggest things that we want to do to give back is we wanted to start a giant garden. So when you come to the World of Mythril, the first thing you walk through is half a mile of garden that you can pick from, that you can take home, that you can enjoy, because our personal mission, we're tired of food deserts and bad food that Americans get. So that's one of the problems we would like to solve at the World of Mythril. I mean, of course, we can't solve all of America's issue with one half a mile long garden, but it's a start. All you need is a start sometimes. So that's our ending plans with the World of Mythril. Very transparent, very straightforward, and I hope to see you guys there with us.